through this season so far, and with just 15 thousandths of a second separating Alonso Lopez and Fermin Aldeguer in the qualifying sessions, Giles bringing in 19 laps here in Valencia. Kiko, the Moto2 European Championship, it's changed this year.
Estoril, we saw both races go down to the final corner, to the final run to the line. You know, it was identical, and I think that'll show here. I think Alonso Lopez and Aldeguer, they have got the pace over the rest of the field. But will they actually be able to separate from each other? Well, time will tell.
21 of Alonso Lopez, our pole setter, and the 54 of Fermin Aldeguer in second spot. They've been so closely matched. He's got the skill, he's got the temperament, then he's actually been challenged as well. He's had to step back from the World Championship, and now he needs to make sure that he answers back what his teammates been doing.
This is the thing, he's being beaten by Moto2 bike, but he's really got to find answers for Aldeguer. Track temperature is good, it's up in, despite the drizzle that we had this morning. That means now, despite the drizzle, yes, the grass, and that'll fill these riders with confidence. There's none of this mixed conditions, none of the patchy stuff we saw earlier on, and it's just, as you can see, the championship standings, Fermin Aldeguer is leading by 10 points from Alonso Lopez. That's all that split them. Adam Nolan last time at Estoril, albeit taking advantage of Tulovic falling in the closing stages, but Nolan could be a surprise. He may well be a bit of a threat for the podium. Let's wait and see. He knows the place very well from his Grand Prix days, of course.
Have separated themselves out over the course of the opening round of the year and during the course of testing and free practice. He's taken that pole position from Fermin Aldeguer. Aldeguer, of course, winner of the opening 2 races of the year in Estoril. Too many answers for the Boscoscuro bikes right now. Lucas Tulovic tried to answer them back in Estoril, came away with a pole circuit for Alonso Lopez on pole position, and he makes a decent start for Fermin Aldeguer with a very good start. Looks like he's going to be able to take the whole shot. You can see the number 3 through the gears down in towards turn 1. Tulovic able to take that second position. Is everyone going to be able to make it cleanly through this first corner? Tulovic to retake that second position.
Everyone through cleanly, Steve. That's a great start from Aldeguer, though. Yes, through goes Lopez. So Lopez, did he get that place back? Yes, he did. So the number 21 starting on pole. It's looking far off, though. So Harder's feeling very, very in this.
Yeah, and you can see Alonso Lopez on the 21 leading this race. We know her bikes. He raced last week in Jerez in Moto2 World Championship action. Back in action this weekend in the Moto2 Europe. The right-hander, that's going to open the door for Takahata.
Great start from Lopez. He's putting in a great opening lap ahead. So that's good stuff. Good news for everyone. But Alex Toledo is up in about 7th place. There he is, just behind Dimas Agipitsantas. This time, it's the other way around in comparison to race 2 at Estoril. Last time, Lopez was chasing.
Very different race here in the Moto2 class compared. He's trying to push hard to open a gap over Fermin Aldeguer. He wants to make sure he asserts himself over his teammate. For Aldeguer on the 54, he's now been able just to open up a...
That was Tulovic. Tulovic was up inside the top 3 early on, and he's going backwards like a ton of bricks here. Through has come Alex Toledo, that is, and he's going backwards, and he's got no answer for it at the moment.
Yeah, and you can see at the front of the field, Lopez has stretched out that lead a little bit more. Takahata there in the 23 under a podium finish last time out in Estoril to give himself a real solid start to this season. You can see here with Takahata, though, needs to keep himself settled. Fermin easy to push the front a little bit too much in the early laps of Moto2 action here in Valencia.
It really is, and he's got to be very, very careful here. You don't want to push on harder on the brakes. Is very, very good. I must admit, it's one of his key characteristics. His tying harder on the brakes is a bit of a weapon. Him and Aldeguer. Whether or not Aldeguer is going to come back into this later on in the race, we'll see. Through comes Norridin.
Norridin to get down the inside there through the second gear, right-hander. Now for Norridin, he needs to make sure that he's able to close up on the back of Aldeguer. In these early stages of the race, 55 aggressive on the earlier laps. Now he's the man under attack as well. Kem Kubo able to make some progress. Looks like there's a few spots just on that with him. Haven't really seen too many for us in our commentary box position, but very easy for it to just come up out of nowhere here in Valencia this weekend. That's what happened.
This is the race start, Steve. You can see it wasn't the cleanest of getaways from Lopez. The first phase of that really did not go very well. Aldeguer blasted off, but look at two steaming through. Harder made a good start. That's getting tight down there, though, amongst the
top of the screen, trying to attack on Alex Toledo. He's third position into turn one. Lost a lot of positions in the opening 3 laps. The race teammate for the last couple of laps. Last time around, actually a second slower than Adam Norridon, who's the fastest rider out there as well right now. No sessions and qualifying, but right now for Norridon, he's got his bike working quite well. It's a long race here for the Moto2 bike, so it is going to be a challenge for Norridon.
Grand Prix, and the 2 guys ahead of him. Obviously, Aldeguer's not there yet, but especially over Alonso Lopez. So I just wonder if differences enhance a bit between different manufacturers, between the Kalex and the Bosco Oscuros. Just on our timing screen, Federico
riding slowly during the session, so a long lap penalty for him. And now for the riders at the front of the field, you can see here with Lopez, Norridon's able to do this time around, because it really is a case of trying to put that pressure onto Fermin Aldeguer in second spot. And once again, Norridon was the
faster that time around. Norridon a 36.9.3 and a 36.9.8 for Aldeguer. It was only a 37.2 earlier on. This is the battle between Tulovic. Oh, I thought he was going to have a big sniff down the inside. Couldn't quite get it done on Kem Kubo. You've got 15 laps to go yet. There is no need to be worried about that. Now, all you're going to do is you're going to wear your tyres down, and you don't want to...
are about as good as they've been all the way through this weekend as well for all these riders. And you can see for Alonso Lopez out in front. Kiko, we saw in Estoril.
The thing for Lopez is he's got to iron out these small things that are just plaguing him and right in the wrong points of the race. What's exactly happened there? That's hopefully it's nothing too serious. Oh dear, we've got a rider down. That's one of the stock 600 runners. Part or anything like that. It won't be aggregate like we used to have back in the olden days. It will just be a clean restart. It's the Moto2s. Alonso Lopez, that's not come at a great time for him, but obviously we hope the rider involved is okay.
Yeah, we'll wait and see how long the restart, but big instant there for the stock 600 rider in the field, and you can see a lot of the riders now making their way back into pit and then try and make some progress from it. For Alonso Lopez, from the pole position, he's been able to lead these opening couple of laps, but
the rider now who's fallen is just being taken off. Themselves gather their thought. Looks like he has found a little bit of performance this weekend.
Yeah, and I would say that for Lucas Tulovic as well, from the outside, the front row of the grid, struggling those after that crash. But for all these riders now, the focus does shift back to what you're able to figure out. Norridon, Kiko, like you said, a fresh tyre as well. All these kind of things come into it now for these teams. Maybe you've kept one spare tyre just in case.
And undoubtedly he has a good race pace, but no one thought it was good enough to do that. So I presume it's not too much of an issue. When Leon Orgis crashed, obviously they will be checking that corner for fluid from the bike, but let's hope. But one thing is that in Moto2 he's not had he's not been in a bad team. You know, he's had a good opportunity, but Carlos, he is a front runner. We know the Andorran is a front runner, and he's just got to do it every single week in, week out. Like, nice to see the local wildlife has come into the stands there.
You two riders, it is a case of trying to make sure that they're ready once we get back to go green and start this race.
Adapting to, you know, for the likes of Lucas Tulovic and the like Xavi Cardaluz, they will have been
podium last time out in Estoril. Now he wants to be able to back it up with another podium on around you.
One thing we haven't spoke about, Stephen, maybe it's partly the reason why Alonso Lopez has so far had a bit more of the upper hand this week. That might have favoured someone like Aldeguer, who naturally is on raw pace is very, very fast. And here, okay, we had rain and warm up this morning, but in general the conditions have been beautiful. I just wonder if that's
specialised track. Yes. Valencia is a track that all these riders know really well, especially Alonso Lopez.
Yep.
Here, so he knows this track inside out. Estoril, when you talk to riders, like World Superbikes went there for the first time last year, chipped the race at Estoril, they said that it was quite interesting to see how long it takes for people to adapt to that track.
Yep.
Not quite as much. And for Aldeguer, last time out in Estoril, he did have experience there. Alonso Lopez didn't. Now now is when that you've got to make sure that you keep an eye on all the way through the season. Very different challenge for him compared to his teammate.
You don't want to be getting away with Norridin, because Norridin is the outsider here. We're not expecting Norridin to challenge for the title week, but at the moment the Bosco-Scuros just seems to have the edge.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if Norridin's able to do it. We're sure that people know that he can do that as well, but the only way he's going to do that is by building on what he did in Estoril whenever he had a podium in the opening race of the year. Fourth in the set shootout is a very different battle. This is where, in the Moto2 class, this is where we're going to receive much. When we have a red flag race, it can be a bit of carnage whenever we restart.
Exactly, we can see a lot of chaos, that is for sure. Kevin Kubo, if he can get a good start, Kubo is definitely in the mix. We know he's quick. They're not expecting much more from anyone else from really behind row 2. Tulovic will come through and change something, or if he was just getting shuffled back. The weather conditions are, as you can see, lovely. It's partly cloudy. For Moto2, the Fim Cev Repsol Championship, it is round 2 of the championship. We have got
to keep his form going. He's strong all the way through this weekend. Keep an eye on the 21 pole sitter in the initial start. Pole sitter starting from the second row of the grid. We know he's always fast off the line. He can try and put a lot of pressure on the riders in front of him. He'll certainly 54. There's a lot of pressure on him now as well, Kiko. Double winner last time out. Didn't quite have the pace in the initial start.
Good hole shot. Get a good launch. Norridin could be a spoiler by the time they even get to turn 1. But let's see how it plays.
Favourites expected to be a leading contender pretty much all the way through this season, but he's got his work cut out for himself. Starting here, we wait for the 9 laps to start, and Lopez from the pole has made a decent start. Norridin with a good start. Taiga Hada once again on the 23 with a turn 1. Is he going to be brave to try and take that race lead? He's not quite able to do that. Slots into second place behind Alonso Lopez. Lopez get out of sight. He's going to make sure that he's up into that second position.
Yeah, good start from Taiga Hada. We said this would favour him, and it does. Will Aldeguer comes Taiga Hada, the 23 there, and so did Norridin. The number 7 of Adam Norridin got ahead of, but out front, Alonso Lopez, carbon copy of race 1. He is of the first part. Sorry, he is up in the first stages of a race.
Yeah, Taiga Hada on the 23, trying to make sure that he's in a position to keep Alonso Lopez very honest in the early. That's a crasher for one of the stock 600 riders down the field. Easily done in these shortened races. It looks like that could be either in a position to be able to attack all the way through. Alonso Lopez, this is a godsend for him as well, though. Kiko up into second spot. Hada's going to try and get the run on him on the exit. Not quite able to do that, but in this early stage of the race, to try and attack to take third position here from Taiga Hada. Not quite able to do that. Action-packed opening lap, Kiko.
Yeah, very good opening lap. Back on his bike, that's good stuff from him. Let's see what happened further down the field. He's just going to tuck the front. Oh, he tucked the front very early on. That bike is skittering through the ground.
Under pressure from Kem Kubo. Kubo there on the number 9 machine. Very aggressive rider, Kubo, and trying to make sure. Very different rider in this shorter race compared to what we saw in the early stages of the initial race. He's put the pressure on straight away. Stage of this race looking very competitive. And then Lucas Tulovic, he's moved up into the top 6 on that number 3 machine. Needs to pick up.
We are. And contrasting lines there, Steve, through the 12-13 flip-flop. Lopez runs it long left-hander. For Aldeguer, he's much faster. And he's much faster right now. He's going to go through. So the number 5 just set the fastest lap as well. And now he's in the lead. So will he be able to break Alonso Lopez? Will he be able to break Lopez's spin? It's still there in 3rd.
Yeah, for Aldeguer out in front there on the 54, it's now a question of what Alonso Lopez can do. It now to stretch out a couple of bike lengths straight away on that number 54 machine. We know how strong he can be whenever the bike's working well. Maybe a few changes there just for him being able to open up that bit of a gap over Taiga Hada. Taiga Hada taking a tighter line through turn 8 there just to make sure he's defensive against Kem Kubo. Early stages.
Yeah, I'd love to see a fight with them two. I'd definitely be buying a ticket between that Hada and Kubo. They're some of the most aggressive riders in this spot. A long lap penalty for Federico Minotti. That's right at the back of the field. Norridin, though, is right on them as well. The front 3 have broken away.
Just in front of Tulovic. Tulovic needs to pick these riders off quickly. We're already at 1/3 distance here, and out in front, it is still a case of those leading riders.
Aldeguer's got the hammer down, Steve. 36.5 last time around. That's the fastest lap of the race. 37.2 for
now as well, Kiko.
Yep.
He knows knows that it's Tulovic behind them as well, so he's got to try and make this move quickly, because Tulovic is going to be a man that's...
He's just not got the pace to continue forward. Kubo, much more stable rider in terms of outright pace as they come into turn 8 a second. And I've got to say, it's not looking too bad at the moment for Aldeguer, as Kubo again trying to look on the inside, but he's under pressure from Tulovic.
And at this stage, just to try and break the spirits of his teammate, but Adam Norton doing a really good job in third position on bike number 7. The early stages of the race, but then pretty quickly established themselves and opened up a little bit of gap to everyone else. Cam Kubo on the number 9, using that strong on the brakes into turn 1, able to carry that speed. For Cam Kubo, he's going to just have to try and make the move, just send it down the inside, maybe down into try and break away from Taiga Hada until Tulovic makes that move as well.
The problem is Hada is so strong on the brakes, is he going to try and fight back?
Choose between them, but right now for Alonso Lopez, he's looking at a much less experienced teammate, the guy that he would have expected to beat.
What he wants.
Oh,
no!
We got a crash. It looks like it could be Cam Kubo that's gone down at turn 8. And for Kubo, that's going to be so easy to have that crash and run into turn 8. Very easy for the riders just to push a little bit too hard through there, trying to make a move and get themselves caught out. And you can, in this case, Kiko just pushed a little bit too hard.
You rarely see Kubo make too many mistakes like that as well. He's normally, I mean, he's not a knee corners, it's downhill braking, off camber, turn 8, it's a bit of a disaster. It's very, very bumpy as you go in there as well. So easy for the front.
Through there, it's 100 miles an hour for these Moto2 bikes, give or take, and very easy just to be a little bit too fast in there, a bit too committed. And that's also what then Taiga Hada's just able to put his bike into the right place. It's only a matter of time, though, until Tulovic on that number 3 machine moves himself up third position, and Taiga Hada has opened up to around about 3 seconds. So even for Tulovic, if he's able to make the move in Taiga Hada, title contenders, he's got to salvage a top 4 here to at least leave Valencia with some decent points. Out in front, he's got his head down, consistent pace. He's opening up that gap. It's 2.5 seconds there to Alonso Lopez.
It's looking like it's going to be beaten out by his teammate. Adam Norridin has already found good form around Valencia, and hopefully it's a sign of what is to come. And he's not dropped off the back.
Norridin ran about a half a second slower than the race leader, but certainly just giving himself a chance. Last time out in Estoril, he looked over his shoulder coming down the start-finish straight. He's lost a couple of spots. He's going to be down into 6th position now, trying to see if he can answer.
It looks like has it stuck?
Well, he's shaking his head there anyway. It's the team. He looks down at the shifter, and certainly some sort of an issue there with some points in this race. Then it's not too bad. He's not going to be able to. That bike's just said enough for the day, and unfortunately mechanical issue. But unfortunate there for Taiga Hada. Out in front though, still Aldeguer from Lopez, Adam Norridin, Tulovic now up into that 4. Fermin Aldeguer, he's really stretched out. Very different to what we saw last time out in Estoril, but also really impressive.
Lopez, I mean, he's second again to his teammate, and to his teammate who's younger than him, who's only 16, but he doesn't know, you know, he shouldn't. We've never seen this kind of form from a rookie to be right up the front like this. Just under a second. I can't imagine that things are going to change too much between them unless Lopez just gets a bit complacent.
Between himself and Adam Norridin, so needs to just make sure that he's able to avoid making a mistake on the final lap. But for Norridin,
back podiums, well, not back-to-back podiums, but 2 podiums out of 3 is not bad. But a good shout out here for intense. So both of them breaking into the top 10 further down the order.
Yeah, and certainly for the likes of Toledo, he was the rider that was, but now trying to make that next step. This is Lucas Tulovic, and he's been able to just break away a little bit from Ekidimas Pertama. But at this point in the race, Tulovic Lopez, a lap to go, Kiko. He's got to make sure he picks up that 20 points per second. 15 points between the 2 teammates isn't an insurmountable.
He's just got to score the best points he possibly can, because it's okay, Aldeguer going off and winning like this, but 1 minute out already. We're only on round 2. He is going to have his time to shine in the sun.
Yeah, and certainly for Alonso Lopez, a podium Moto2 bike as well. And I think in normal circumstances, you'd look at it and you think he's been a fantastic first couple of rounds on the bike. But whenever you look at the road, the grid really strong all the the way through that weekend. Unlucky during the course of the race, but he's going to be strong all the way through the Moto E season. Riders getting the opportunity to move up, including the likes of Sam Wilford, that's going to pick up an extra point. But for Fermin Aldeguer, he's going to be able to pick up and the rest of the field. Alonso Lopez takes 20 points in second position, a third consecutive 1-2 for the Boscoscuro team, and a second in the early rounds of the year. Lucas Tulovic comes across the line, picks up 13 points in fourth position, but certainly not what Tulovic would.
Taking it not just at the Boscoscuros, but to his teammate as well. Great 1-2 for the Boscoscuros again. For the 16-year-old Fermin Aldeguer, make a note of the name because it's going to be
race victory by round about 2 seconds from the next stock 600 rider. So a really impressive performance. Mika Perez, he'll be on the podium, be on a Moto2 machine, and for Aldeguer, this is just another example of why a lot of people in the Grand Prix paddock have taken notice of him as well. Points in a row, he's got his work cut out to make up that ground on Fermin Aldeguer, but he's had a solid start to his Moto2 season. Think about what he's going to have to do to try and find some answers to Fermin Aldeguer.